Hello. It's great to be speaking to you today at such an excellent event. Accessible housing is just so important, and I'm sure that's the reason why you are here too. So I'm speaking and preaching to the converted. Housing is so important to quality of life. Ensuring that homes are fit for purpose and meet the needs of those living there is vital. My name is Adam Stachura. I'm the head of policy and communications for Age Scotland. We're the national charity for older people. We work to improve the lives of everyone over the age of 50 so they can love later life. We've been fortunate and lucky enough to be supported by the Scottish Government for a number of years in developing our housing policy work in terms of research available at the housing needs of older people and looking at their motivations in later life, about kind of what their housing needs are now against what they anticipate they will be in the future. And it will come as no surprise that ensuring that homes are accessible and that they can be adapted is a big part of that consideration and does demonstrate why we need to be doing a lot more to be able to support that. One of our policy objectives at Age Scotland, which is shared by so many people, so it's not unique, is to be able to support older people to live independently and well in their own homes for as long as possible. And all of our work in terms of that policy development area is in housing and energy is to look at this. How can we do this? And how can we make sure that policymakers and decision makers are aware of these needs and that they have solutions to meet demand? Now, there's three things I would like to talk to you about over the next few minutes, but a little bit about what we know now in terms of the state of ageing and our population, about our housing research and what we know about kind of accessible homes, what people kind of want and what they need, and what can we do next? Where do we go? What are the kind of actions that we can take? Scotland, first off, has a rapidly ageing population. It's ageing quicker than the rest of the UK. And with more than 2.1 million people over the age of 50 living in Scotland today, over the next couple of decades, nearly half of the population will be over this age, and a quarter will be over the age of 65. In fact, the biggest shift in age is going to be of those over the age of 75, with a 70% increase, which is why it's so important to get housing right and ensure that it is fit for the future. But along with this, there are some worrying signs. We've found out recently that healthy life expectancy has fallen slightly, and that's before the impact of COVID is known. And life expectancy as a whole has stalled. So, what this all means is we have more people in older age living for longer in their life in poorer health. So, ensuring that their homes are accessible, that they can support them to live independently well, is critical. And that decision makers and house builders and planners really need to be thinking about this and delivering what people are going to need, not just now, but in the future. 80% of homes already built today will still be in use in 2050, which means we can't just rely solely on new builds to provide more accessible housing. We've got to make sure there's far more support to be able for people to turn their homes to become more accessible, to make the adaptations that are required. And our housing survey has some insights into this, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. There are increasing numbers of older people living alone. There's 350,000 people in Scotland of pension age who live on their own. But along with this, we're also looking at quite high levels of poverty and low income too. 150,000 pensioners in Scotland live in poverty. It's a similar number to that aren't too far off that figure. So ensuring that they are able to access and live in a home that's good for them too, without breaking the bank is absolutely vital. Almost three quarters of older people own the home they live in. But it's important not to make too many assumptions about that disposable wealth or income that households may have. I've talked about the levels of pension or poverty and low income there too. And about 4 in 10 of these older households live in homes that fall below the Scottish housing quality standard. So there's much more needs to be done to be able to lift the quality of homes that people are living in and be able to adapt these things to meet their needs, but also improve these standards. It's just really, really important. So a little bit about our National Housing Survey, our most recent one. Between November 2019 and January 2020, we surveyed more than 1,200 people over the age of 55 across Scotland. It was quite a well-balanced representation from all Scottish local authority areas. I'm going to boil down and drill into the elements about adaptations and accessible homes and what people kind of want now and in the future. Fewer than half of the people that we surveyed over the age of 55 think that their homes will be suitable for them in later life, which is why it's going to be so important that either they're able to have access to means to adapt their home to meet these needs, or that we have more homes that are built in the first place that are going to be suitable for people and whatever these needs are, whether it's through disability or different levels of older age. 1 in 8 people say that their current home is unsuitable. So it's not just about the future, but right now. And that rises to 1 in 5 older people with disabilities believe that their current home isn't suitable. And 15% of those that have long-term health conditions don't believe that their current home is suitable for their needs. So huge numbers of people that need more work done to satisfy their needs. There's an overwhelming preference to live on one floor. Actual fact, more half of people believe that a bungalow would be the best option to them, but these things are few and far between and scarce when you're looking at new builds, which would demonstrate that there is a massive market for this, and we should be looking more at how we can deliver more homes on one level. And about a quarter of people there would like to live in a flat, but flats aren't going to be the only option that people should have. If their preference is to have a bit more space than that and they're able to afford that, or able to live in these places, we should be looking at that kind of availability, housing stock. 46% would rather adapt their own home than move, which demonstrates how important communities are to people, that the connections that they've made, or that they shouldn't kind of be forced or feel forced to kind of move when they don't need to. We've got to make sure that there are more homes built everywhere to meet all kinds of needs. But of that, more than a third of people feel that the best option for them is going to be to move, and ensuring that whatever they do move meets those needs is absolutely critical. And of the people that we surveyed, 20% had made adaptations to improve that accessibility of their home. These people were likely to actually be over the age of 75 by the time they need to do this. And all the types of things that they undertook, and this is one that I think is quite important, particularly if we're going to look at design of homes, is 14% these sort of widened doorways to make their home more accessible, whether it was by virtue of having a wheelchair, mobility aids, or just in actual fact to be able to be more mobile around their house. But about 60% of the adaptations were for far more straightforward things, such as grab rails. And excellent organisations such as care and repair services can play a really big part to ensure that there's speedy and swift access to adaptations. But there isn't a representation of this in every local authority area, and it's a bit of a mix. So we need to be doing a lot more to be able to sustain, support, and grow these types of services. And when it came to these alterations, actual fact, only 6% of people were able to access or use some kind of grant funding to do so. So do we need to be looking more at either further awareness of these pots of money, or to increase the kind of levels and types of funding arrangements people can access to be able to live better and well in their own home? One of the impacts of COVID has been that community is so important to people. It's been there before, of course, we know this, but while people have been locked down, not be able to travel too far, amenity services and that kind of community is just so important to older people. And looking to the future and looking to future planning and building, ensuring that where homes are built, there is this network and support around people is going to be vital. 41% of people felt that being close to shops and services was their top priority, or a top priority, when thinking about their housing needs beyond the home itself. 29% of people felt that they wanted a smaller or more manageable home when they're looking at their housing needs. And 23% want a property that could be adapted to changing needs over time. So there is a big demand for a broader mix of types of homes, all built to kind of a really good standard, and that the minimum adaptations to be made over time is going to be really important. So what do we need to do next? Well, we're going to have to build more homes that are accessible. I'm sure we're preaching to converted here. And part of this is perhaps greater adoption of age-friendly design principles. Talked earlier on about kind of wider doorways. Step-free access is going to be really important as well, and there's not enough of that out there. So we need to make sure that people have these options available to them. Delivering this better mix of housing types and options in communities is absolutely critical to ensuring people can live well and independently for as long as they possibly can. And ensuring consistency of services such as care repairs across Scotland should be a focus going forward, that there is sustainable funding and that they are able to kind of grow and adapt to the kind of this larger part of our population. And much more collaboration is going to be needed in delivering these accessible homes themselves. So we all need to be thinking about that. How can we all get together? We know what people want, what people need, but how can we deliver that? Thanks very much for your time. I hope some of the stats and figures in here have been of interest. And if you want to get in touch with us again, please do so. And you can contact us via our website at agescotland.org.uk.